Hello and welcome to my video. This video is on tarot decks. There's many different types of tarot decks. Some are weird looking, I've seen some really strange ones, and some are quite realistic and interesting and almost like art. They come in many different themes, from dolphins to circus to vampires, many different vampires, let me tell you. To basically I've seen a tarot deck that was themed by tarot decks. Weird, huh? And they come in different formats. There's the two formats, like I like to call them, are the Rider-Waite format, where each of the minor arcana have its own artistry, basically a story and a meaning behind it. And there's what I call the Tarot Marcellus format, which is where each of the minor arcana just shows that number of that one. Like Five of Cups, there's just 5 cups. Honestly, I don't like the Tarot Marcellus format. Then there's the format of the major arcana, which always consists of, well, they always consist of the 22 major cards, and they always consist of different pictures and that, and some of them have different names. The Fool can be differently named. The Hierophant can be named the Pope. It just depends on the deck. There's always 22, and let's see what else. In some decks, the major arcana are usually always in the same order. There's only one exception. Usually, Justice is after Strength. But sometimes it's flipped, and Strength becomes before Justice. Oh, I got that messed up. Strength is becomes before Justice, and then sometimes you see Justice before Strength. Honestly, I don't know which way it goes, but I prefer Strength before Justice just because the first deck I ever got my hands on was like that. And it just seems right, honestly. First deck I personally ever had was New Century Tarot. At the time, I had no clue on it. I had no clue what it was even called. A friend of mine got this box set from Barnes & Noble, that's it. It was a box, a set of tarot, a little booklet, a purple cloth to wrap them in, and all that. He gave them to me, and they were my first deck. I had no clue on their name or anything else. I didn't even know other times the tarot decks existed. Believe me, when I found out, my mind was blown. There's so many, you can't even really count them all. I have become a tarot collector. I have several decks. I don't have my original New Century anymore because I got kicked out of my stepdad's. He took everything because he didn't like it and all that. But the deck I ended up getting afterwards was the Vampire Tarot, which I can show you right here. I keep it in its own little box, which is this book box, which you open, which hands upside down. If you open and reveals a smaller box, which then has my Vampire Tarot in. Voila. They were given to me for my 19th birthday by a roommate. And thus became my main deck for the longest time. Honestly, there's other starter decks. The main decks that I've seen people start with are number 1, the Rise of the Waite Tarot. It is what I call the classic of tarot, and I believe honestly is the basis. Granted, I think another one came before that, which was Tarot Marcellus, but I still think the Rider-Waite Tarot is the best tarot to learn on. In fact, I actually have a copy of myself right here in this box. I have them in boxes. So honestly, this was the second deck I ever possessed. I actually just wanted the deck, but there was a book with it, Tarot for Dummies, so I had to buy both to get the deck. It wasn't until later when I just had the deck. But if you're gonna start learning tarot, I suggest you start with the Rider-Waite Tarot. It's just my personal suggestion, and in a lot of cases, it's one of the decks I see most commonly used. Altogether, there are 4 decks that I usually see, or the ones that are commonly the ones people start on. Number 1, Rider-Waite, as you just saw. Number 2 is the Thoth Tarot by Aleister Crowley. Honestly, I don't possess that deck. Eventually I will. But if you start with that deck, I think it can kind of really screw you up. It's not that it's a bad deck, it's that the names are completely different. If you look at another deck, you're going to see that those complete differences in all the names. There's three different versions of the Magician, and they're called Magus in there. And when it comes to the Minor Arcana, it's Princess and Prince, and then Queen and Knight. When in fact, it's normally Page, Knight, Queen, King. So, yeah, I think that can really screw you up. The basic suits are usually Sword, Wand, Pentacle, and Cup. Those can change, as you see in Salah decks. They usually change Pentacles to discs or coins, and sometimes swords or blades or sabers, and cups can be chalices, bottles and some obscene, and wands can be staffs and spears, and Vampire Tarot they'll actually look like stakes. They're still wands, but they just look like stakes. Anywho, number 3, excuse me, that you normally most start with. The Gilded Tarot I've seen is a very popular one. I don't own that either, but I have all the pictures and look down, just like I have the Thoth Tarot, and it's actually a very pretty deck. I really do like it. Eventually I will get it myself. I once saw a woman, she had done a spread, and one of my suggestions on all the cards, she told me what deck she used and all the cards, and I looked at the card pictures, and actually I could read those cards pretty easily. You can read them many different ways. There's the booklet, it tells you what they mean, and you can just look at them, and what they mean to you is how you read them. So, yeah. Anyway, and number 4, Tarot or Marcellus. As I said, that's the other format. I honestly don't like that deck much. It's old, French, I believe. I believe it was actually before the Rider-Waite Tarot, but honestly, I don't care for it much. And I wouldn't suggest it much for a starter deck either. Rider-Waite, I would think, would probably be the best to start with. And second, my second choice to best start with would actually be the Gilded Tarot. Why? Because it goes on the format of the Rider-Waite Tarot. The Thoth Tarot goes on Rider-Waite standards too, but there's so many different name changes and things in there. I think you should stick with the basis of what a lot of people see the basis of is. So the Rider-Waite is my best suggestion, because it's got all the 22 major arcana. They're all in the most common of names that they're mainly used by. Main format you'll see them, main order, just strength before justice, that you'll see them in most of the time. And most commonly you'll see those imagery in a lot of other decks too. So if you familiarize yourself with the basic picture that a lot of people base their tarot decks off of, you'll see the imagery later. And then the minor arcana, again, a lot of minor arcana are based off of those too. So again, you'll see, because there's many different versions of the Rider-Waite Tarot. There's the albino version, there's the glow-in-the-dark version, there's the other versions which make them look a lot older, there's pocket versions. The Rider-Waite Tarot, I would have to say, hands down, is the most duplicated tarot and most reproduced ever that has many different versions. There's the Q&A Tarot, which I actually would be good for some people. It's the Rider-Waite Tarot pictures. They're rectangles in the middle of the card. The top shows their meaning. If you reverse them, it shows the reverse meaning. When it comes to the reverse of the tarot, I personally don't really reverse my cards, ever. I'm too OCD, really. If I find one upside down, which I know I did not leave that way, I read it that way in a reading. Otherwise, I make sure all my cards are the other way because it's just me. But some decks don't even have reverse readings, reverse meanings. And some of them, the backs of the cards not even reversible. And that's actually something you can look into. If you're looking for a particular deck that you want to fit your needs, one of the main things is, if you read reverse cards with reverse meanings, some people will just go by the opposite of what the card means right up. That's not always the case, and sometimes it is, but not always. And number 2, if you want one that you can have upside down potential, you need to make sure the back's reversible. Otherwise, people are going to see it's upside down, and they're going to want to know why it's upside down. Believe me. And that's why there's a lot of decks that have reversible backs. For example, this is a box I keep decks in. This is the back from the Tarot of the Pagan Cats over here. It is reversible. And then this is my back of the Vampire Tarot. It is also reversible. And you see the blue and white checker is the Water Weight back. It is also reversible. You see the Dark Angels, that blue and black stripe there. That's their back. It is not reversible. Also, you don't need to have a box for your tarot, by the way. I just like having all my tarot in different boxes. That's just me. For example, the box I just showed you has inside of it my Dark Angels and Tarot of the Pagan Cats decks. Little Silver Moon box in the middle. And before I got those other decks for my Vampire Tarot, this little box with a picture of Hathor in it, I used as this box. Now, right away is an interesting box that just fits in there perfectly, but that's just me. I also possess two other decks. This I actually don't really consider a tarot deck. It's called the Dishonored Tarot. If anyone knows the game Dishonored, that's where this comes from. It is not really a good tarot. And actually, I don't think you can really call it a tarot deck. Number one, the Major Arcana, if you can call them that, don't match up to the main Major Arcana at all. If a beginner really saw this, it would really screw them up. And number two, all the Minor Arcana looks like normal playing cards. And the suits are rats, skulls, guns, and blades, I believe, if I remember right. Not anything at all. I found it at GameStop and picked it up and was like, it sounds interesting because it's a tarot on it, so I looked at it like, eh. I also possess... This is the Lover's Tarot. I have them all faced in rubber band. It's because they were originally roommates. He let me borrow to look at them. He moved out, and when he moved out, he forgot the box that had them in there. I don't know if it was accident or fate or what have you, but I ended up keeping them in the end. Let's see what else. More about tarot. Well, let's see. As I said, sometimes you can't really look into a catalog and just see the tarot you want, and I understand some people are going to be like, look at this tarot, and also one thing. Some people I have talked to say you only really need one tarot deck. It's true, you could only use one tarot deck. But some people like to have more. I like to collect them. I love the artistry, and I just love them. I don't collect every one I find, because there's some that I just personally find downright ugly. There's one called the Photogasmic Theater Tarot deck that just weirds me out horribly. There's another deck that I actually really want, the Deviant Moon Tarot. I like how it looks, but in a way, it's kind of frightening still. So it's one of those, it's just frightening, but you just can't look away. It's like a lava lamp. I forget who makes that deck, but it's really cool. Based off of 18th century tombstones. And let's see. Well, there's many different tarot decks to name. Right now, I'm going to leave you, and I hope this was an interesting video. I will do more, obviously, on the tarot for sure. So, see you later.